mean that the new College of Law might not be made? If there's an old College
They
of Law
should
in here?
have been made. If they might not be in the. Hi, you're Bill.
Does that mean that the new College of Law might not be made? If there's an old
They
College of Law in
should.
here?
They may have been made.
Thanks.
If they might not be in the. Hi, you're Bill.
Does that mean that the new College of Law might not be made?
You do find yours?
They may have been made.
Thanks.
If they might not be in the. Hi, you're Bill.
Does that mean that the new College of Law might not be made?
You do find yours?
They may have been made.
Thanks.
If they might not be in the. Hi, you're Bill.
Does that mean that the new College of Law might not be made?
You do find yours?
They may have been made.
Thanks.
If they might not be in the. Hi, you're Bill.
Does that mean that the new College of Law might not be made?
You do find yours?
They may have been made.
Thanks.
If they might not be in the. Hi, you're Bill.
Does that mean that the new College of Law might not be made?
You do find yours?
They may have been made.
Thanks.
If they might not be in the. Hi, you're Bill.
Does that mean that the new College of Law might not be made?
So you can just figure out the
They may have been made.
thanks.
If they might not be in the. Hi, you're Bill.
Yeah. So you can just figure out the
They may have been made. If they might not be in the. Hi, you're Bill.
yeah. So you can just figure out the
They may have been made. If they might not be in the. Hi, you're Bill.
yeah. So you can just figure out the
They may have been made. If they might not be in the. Hi, you're Bill.
yeah. So you can just figure out the
They may have been made. If they might not be in the. Hi, you're Bill.
yeah. So you can just figure out the
They may have been made. If they might not be in the. Hi, you're Bill.
yeah. So you can just figure out the and Jared is watching. So yeah. Yeah. Right, sure. I'll figure out the first one. Got 20 and Jared or 22 votes. Yeah. Yeah. Right, sure. I'll figure out the first one. Got 20 and Jared or 22 votes. Yeah. Yeah. Right, sure. I'll figure out the first one. Got 20 and Jared or 22 votes. Yeah. Sure, I'll figure out the first one. Got 20 and Jared or 22 votes. Yeah. Sure, I'll figure out the first one. Got 20 and Jared or 22 votes. Yeah. Sure, I'll figure out the first one. Got 20 and Jared or 22 votes. Yeah. Sure, I'll figure out the first one. Got 20 and Jared or 22 votes. Yeah. Sure, I'll figure out the first one. Got 20 and Jared or 22 votes. Yeah. Sure, I'll figure out the first one. Got 20 and Jared or 22 votes. Yeah. Sure, I'll figure out the first one. Got 20 and Jared or 22 votes. Yeah. Sure, I'll figure out the first one. Got 20 and Jared or 22 votes. Yeah. Sure, I'll figure out the first one. Got 20 and Jared or 22 votes. Yeah. Sure, I'll figure out the first one. Got 20 and Jared or 22 votes. Yeah.
flush them out and try to find a problem and a solution for that problem. And we do come to GPSC from time to time, and we appreciate this organization. We've had members for as long as I've been in SBA, which has been 3 years now, who have said great things. You know, James Carlson, Mark Ryan, and you know, they come back and they say, you know, GPSC is doing this, it's great, and we've had no problems. So to have a problem today is kind of very serious to us, and we're going to work to fix it. Now again, non-traditional JD students are just as much as my constituent or any SBA representative's constituent as any other student at the school. It does not matter. There is no distinction. I know that Raul brought up the whole idea of what jobs people are seeking and what employment opportunities are available. Again, I'm not seeking to be a lawyer. I'm not looking towards getting a law degree to join a big firm. We have a variety of interests within our school, within SBA, and within the law community where you can use your law degree to any capacity. Whether you want to be a professor, a researcher, a lawyer, or what have you, a human rights worker, it doesn't matter. I don't want to be a lawyer. So I think that point is kind of hard to pin on SBA because we do a lot more than just find people jobs. That's probably one of the least things we do as an organization. Mostly it's to foster a sense of community and environment in our school, which I kind of feel sad that some people are not feeling that community. Again, we are the central student government. We are recognized by GPSC to be the government at our school. So we are recognized by this authority here to handle the problems and situations at our school. Our constitution has been approved within the school, and I believe you all have copies of it. If not, we can email it to you. Had we been approached by Raul or any other non-traditional JD student, we would have worked to fix this problem as soon as possible. Now, we've heard about it this summer. Jillian and I, Jillian the president, me the vice president, last couple of weeks have actually reached out to students that we think that are good representatives of these other degree-seeking programs to help fix this problem. We had not heard from this SJD program, anyone in it, or Raul about his concerns. And if we did, we wouldn't have to be here today bringing GPSC into something that we feel like is more of a law school issue. And we are very sorry to hear about that. So that's what we kind of want to handle this within the law school itself and not bringing it to you until the need arises. We have a lot of different avenues for law students to basically fix or bring up any concerns they may have about any problems in the school. One is that we opened up office hours last year. We have an hour or two every week where any student, no matter what their affiliation with SPA, can come into our office and advocate for other students, advocate for grants, whatever they need, or raise concerns and talk to us. I've sat in there, other people have sat in there, our board members are always in there. We even sell merchandise in there. It's a very, very welcoming environment, and we have snacks, and we always want to be able to make sure people can talk to us. Another thing, SBA elections are open to every single student, no matter what membership they have, whether it is active or associate. It does not matter if they pay dues, they have the right to vote for the representatives. So anyone, whether you're an outgoing student who's a 3L or you've been here for 4 years, you have the right to vote. I could be leaving next year, which I am, and I have the voice to pick the next representative of mine and the next board for our student government at the school. That's very important. That's making sure that everyone gets a vote, no matter where they are in their education at the law school. On that point, we have had AJD and other degree-seeking students who are not traditional JDs hold office. We had an AJD last year hold a representative office, and she did a great job. We enjoyed her company, and she never brought any of this to our attention. We thought having her on there was great. She represented the community that's not a traditional JD student, and she never brought this up. And that was one of her platforms, was to provide more representation within the law school. Beyond that, we've reached out. Julie and I have reached out, and we've gotten a great response. There are AJD students and SJD students who have said, we will come work with you once the school starts. It's summer, people are out doing their jobs in different firms, different organizations, nonprofit groups, orphan courts like I am. So it's hard for us to get together, but SBA meetings are open up to any student who wants to come watch and voice any new business, just as I am here today in front of you. So I feel like that's really important, and we're very open. If you want to refer to our Constitution, Article 3, again, says that we represent every single student. We really want to address this issue, and we've been trying to. Just because it's been brought up here does not mean that we can't fix it at the law school within the SBA. And we're really hoping that you will give us the opportunity to do so. I know Jim C. I know it's not Jim Carlson. I think it might be Jim Collins. Sent an email out. And again, we only have 2 reps, and we barely have that, if any. And they've been appointed. And the thing is, if we had known this was a problem, we would have been more swayed to have more of an input from students. But the thing is, we want that input to be within the school and to be something that we provide as consensus within our school. Mandating that we have a certain person, a certain place, would not be a group consensus. And we want a unified voice as a law school. We want to come to GPSC with our concerns as a whole and not a fragmented, hodgepodge of ideas. That's for us to work out at the law school and then come to a consensus through a vote. Just like our elections are open, everyone's voices are open to be heard. On that note, I really encourage the matter today, whether it be a vote or whatever process GPSC proposes, be tabled or voted no until SBA is given the opportunity to work this out within our own school. We were elected as representatives, as vice president, as president, whatever other office to handle this matter. And to have GPSC come in and override that kind of takes away the whole idea that GPSC recognizes as a student government and association on our own campus. So giving us the power and the jurisdiction within our own campus and then taking it away kind of negates our feeling that we have a voice on our own college of law, our own campus. And that kind of would really, lower morale in our school. So we hope to work with GPSC to fix this problem, but first we'd like to advocate on our own behalf in our own school with our own voices and then come to you with a solution. And hopefully that will be the best way to move forward. And I appreciate your time, and I hope I can work with Raul. I see you all the time, and this is the first time I'm hearing about this, and I'm sorry that it had to be here. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Raul, sorry you can't respond because you've already gone. We may talk when we bring it back up in a few minutes. We may ask for more input from both of you. Are there any further calls to the audience that we need to address? Okay, great. Moving to approvals. Did everyone get a chance to examine the minutes or avoid them like I did?
I glanced at them.
Okay, so
Good.
there are no objections to approving the minutes. I move we approve them. Great, awesome. So we're moving into new business then. So constitutional amendments, luckily that's what we were just talking about.
Can I quickly move to move the non-JD discussion up so that our guests
Sure.
don't have to be there all the time?
Absolutely. So we're moving to B initially. So adding non-JD law student rep. We've heard 2 sides to this already. Jim wants to talk, and then Zach wants to talk, and then Elaine wants to talk, and then Jasmine wants to talk, and then I will talk after Jasmine. Actually, I'll have Ellen talk because she's needs to be able to speak to this first stuff that's going on. So, Jim, Zach, Elaine, Jasmine, out.
I just had a couple of quick administrative things before we got into this discussion. I'm going to move to table the governing docs discussion because it's going to be lengthy and I don't think we have
Okay.
time for it.
Sure.
So we can just take that off the agenda and free up the time. Second, for the people who are here virtually teleconferencing, I need to know that
Right.
you were here to get you on your attendance. So, we've never done this before. Do you want to get that?
Jasmine, do you know who's teleconferencing and do you have? Can you just ask
Jared and Storm at the moment.
Jared and Storm are the only 2 that are going so far. Just check and make sure. If you're out there and you can hear me, please let Jasmine know that you're attending. Jim.
Yeah, well, if you're teleconferencing, email me and let me know you teleconference afterwards so I can put you on the attendance. The other thing I was going to ask is, there's some new reps here that I don't personally know. I don't know your name.
All right.
I'm keeping minutes today because my secretary is not here.
Jim, I appreciate what you're trying to do. We're trying to get these people out of here so they have a life. So we can wait now.
So if you guys can say your names when you talk, that's the only way I'm going to know who you are to put you in the minutes. Thanks.
Okay. Zach.
Nick. I get that a lot of times.
I'm personally, in my role, confused by this. I didn't know where this comes from. I'm not sure who's sponsoring it. So I agree with you that we should not look like we're overriding what you want. If you represent every single student, then great. I definitely support the self-governance as long as people are selected by process and so forth. The main thing for me is I'm confused by it. This is the first I've heard about it maybe 10 days ago. I'm not sure where it came from. I'm not sure who sponsored it. I'm not sure anything about it. And in my position, I shouldn't probably have a sense of where the conversation comes from. And the second thing is I don't think Alan's been sworn in. So if we were to vote on it today, I don't think you would even get a chance to vote on something that would affect your decisions directly. So I'm supporting you guys in tabling this or voting against it for now and then you can consider it later. That's my position.
Okay. Elaine?
On principle, I support the idea of internal autonomy, but my question has to do with something that I was trying to wrap my head around in what you had said there. So, if you're not an active member, if you haven't paid dues, then you can't run for office. Is that true?
Can I answer that?
Yeah.
So basically, SBA represents all students. You can be an associate member, which means that you are basically represented by the school. You get emails from the ABA. You can function as a kind of member of the ABA. When it comes to daily activities in the school, you don't get like discounts on certain events. And I think certain grants wouldn't be offered because we want that person to be a member of SBA before they get the grant. But it's a very nominal fee. I think it's $40 for 3 years, so it pays itself off. When it comes to running for office, I believe that people can run for office if they are not a member, and once they are elected, we encourage them to join SBA before they are sworn in, so that they are not only a person that was elected democratically, but they're actually an SBA member before they become an SBA representative. So people do run for office a lot, and then we just encourage them to pay the $40, which over 3 years I think is 15 or less. And then they are not only an SBA member, but an SBA representative and official. So you get benefits from both, from paying and not paying. But when you're an officer, you do have to become an SBA member.
Okay, and then I have a follow-up question. So, is there any way to know in the SJD people on particular ran for office this last year?
You know, we actually have spots open still in our election. People were not very interested, and that's something that we've also been trying to deal with, is lack of interest in student government. So no one, I'm not sure off the top of my head if any SJDs have run, but we also have spots open which we're going to be appointing. So hopefully we could probably have an SJD be appointed into a position. Now, last year, the SJD who ran was very adamant against having a specific office just for AGDs or SJDs because she was concerned that they'd be treated differently and not equally as other law students. She was like, I want to run as if I was everyone else. And we said, yeah, of course, please do that. And she won. So the thing is, we don't look to someone's membership, but degree status for membership in SBA, we look to their interests. And their interests are they interested in the community? Are they interested in being an SBA? And that's what we look at when we appoint someone or vote for them. So if no one's running and no one's showing interest or no one's reaching out to us, then we have no idea. And that's why this last summer we heard about this, like Zach was bringing up, we were confused, and now we're working on trying to fix that. So I don't think any SJDs ran this last year, but if they had shown interest, there are spots available for them to be elected to a representative position.
So you could like appoint Raul, for instance. You could just like appoint him.
So we have spots available in certain classes that will be appointed because no one ran. There were spots open because no one ran. There was an interest.
Okay.
But I don't think that we would be appointing willy-nilly. We would want a process in place to appoint and select.
So conceivably, some SJDs, like at least one or two, could get.
If they show interest, that's the
Okay.
thing. The interest has to be there. We can't force someone to be on SBA. That would not be fair to them or good to work, a good working environment. But if they show interest, yeah.
Yeah. Jonathan?
Okay.
Okay, Jasmine want to talk, then Ellen, Raul, and Jim.
Okay, so first off, comment from Storm is SBA is a student government entity that is present at nearly every law school nationwide. The Student Bar Association is a student equivalent of the American Bar Association. And the American Bar Association is a nationwide organization that accredits law schools nationwide. So that's what he wanted to sort of add earlier. If anyone has more comments, then I'll read them.
Right.
Anyhow, my comment. Okay, so first off, Zach, I don't understand what you mean by you don't know who's sponsoring this and you don't know where it came from, because in the email I sent out with the amendment, I said it was brought to my attention by an SJG student that they wanted this position created. Clearly, I'm sponsoring it, and it's coming from the SJG students. Also, the original decision that we made way back in like 2014 or something like that was that we were under the impression, GPSC, that the Student Bar Association represented every student. I'm pretty sure that the rep at the time that recommended that amendment to our Constitution to allow the College of Law reps to be elected internally did not know about any of the other programs in the College of Law. I think he only knew about JD students. The conversation was very, very brief, and one of the things that was said was, this is only an acceptable amendment if these positions are elected, not appointed. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm under the impression you've been appointing the reps to these positions lately.
We have not appointed anyone. I'm saying that if there are seats open between this last election.
Okay, how did Ellen and Storm get chosen? Were they elected by the entire law student body?
No, that process is an SBA process, so not the whole body. We elect representatives. So Storm's not even in the student government. So we appointed him to represent because he showed interest. Now, if that's something that GPSC has a problem with, we are willing to look at that internally. But we don't believe that GPSC should mandate how we elect. And I think Jim C. brought up before that we barely have enough people to be in GPSC representative of the law school. I don't know exactly what how someone gets on GPSC, but the thing is, like, that's something that we could work on if you were questioning it. I think a mandate by GPSC, based upon a brief conversation we've had with one person, wouldn't be the best motivation for SBA to be completely overridden by GPSC when we've been given jurisdiction over the law school.
Okay, so then the concerning thing is that process you just described is completely antithetical to the process that we were told when GPSC agreed to let the College of Law elect their reps internally. So that in itself is very concerning, and I'm thinking of maybe proposing a new amendment after this conversation. But anyhow, ignoring that, so the other things are when this actually no, not ignoring that. When this exact problem arose in the College of Pharmacy, PharmD, the same thing was happening. PharmD was choosing, the College of Pharmacy, PharmD, student government was choosing a rep rather than letting students elect a rep internally. We actually removed that process from them because students were coming to us and saying they did not feel represented by this process. What I'm hearing is that's exactly what's happening now. And obviously you were not aware of this. I'm sure it was not malicious, but it does sound like there needs to be a change to the process for GPSC to continue supporting it.
I'd like to respond to that. I do have an email from Jude regarding this. Give me 1 minute.
Okay, I'll keep going and then when you find it. But yeah, I also want to make it clear, AJDs and SJDs are night and day. The SJD program is for students who I believe largely already have Juris Doctorates and want to be professors. AJD is for students who have a JD in their home country and want to get a JD in the US. It's a 2-year program that's essentially the US's JD program in 2 years instead of 3, meaning that they are essentially JD students for all intents and purposes, whereas the other programs that Raul mentioned are completely different. So it's great that you feel like you're representing more students with that one AJD student who ran for office, but that's not the problem here. The problem here is all those other programs that did not run and do not feel represented.
Okay, if I could respond to something.
Yeah, I'm done now, so.
Is that allowed?
Quickly, please.
Okay, just speaking as someone who's in the law school, interest has to be shown, and we believe that AJDs and SJDs, or LLMs and JD students, should all be treated equally. And if they show interest in running for office, we are more than happy to accommodate that. We can't force or push the issue to make people run for office or be represented. Every degree-seeking student is given the opportunity to join SBA and pay dues. Now, in terms of the Constitution, it's silent. Our Constitution is silent about that. And I think we've been given the power to somehow elect GPSC or appoint them. It's silent. We don't know exactly what it says, but we can put something in there. The thing is that democratically elect the SBA president. And so that kind of gives Jillian a voice to go ahead and appoint people to the position that show interest and that are actually involved in the school. Now Storm and Ellen approached and they got the GPSC representative position. Basically, we've traditionally retained that power as the president. If that's something that GPSC wants to bring up in a later meeting, that's fine. But the thing is, since our constitution is silent about that, we really have no guidelines of whether to elect or appoint. And I think that it's really important to rely on the SBA and the law school to filter these ideas and to kind of handle it in-house, because having a conversation with one person does not give you all the outlook or the information, the whole story. So while I appreciate your concern, I think that it should be given to SBA as a kind of concern that they should look at. So if you could just hand that over to SBA first, I think that'd be a better idea, because we could handle it in-house. And if we find that the president should be electing or appointing people, then we can handle it on our own campus.
Okay, so it's Ellen, Raul, Jim, me, Jasmine, Zach.
Okay.
Elaine.
Okay.
I have to say, sorry.
Hi everyone, super happy to be here. So I think the first thing that we want to address is that the reason why I believe that we don't have the GPSC reps on our ballot that's voted is because generally the GPS reps are also SBA reps. I myself am on the executive board of SBA, Storm is not. He approached Jillian a long time ago about being a part of this. But traditionally it's through SBA so that we can more effectively communicate with you, and we also are kind of the brain of everything that's going on. Administration comes to us for curriculum assistance. I'm the executive programming coordinator. I do the law gala and the welcome back picnic, and so we have a really great picture of what's going on. And Storm this year is going to bring something really interesting to the table. But last year, Mark Ryan and Jim Carlson were both separately voted to SBA in a different capacity, kind of doing two jobs. And so, first off, I think I speak for Nick, I speak for Storm. We're so concerned and upset that this issue has been brought to the table. Not because we don't think it exists and not because we don't want to handle it, but because we weren't aware that it was happening. This year, we didn't, like Nick said, we didn't have enough people running for office. I'm a rising 2L. We only had 2 people run for 4 positions for the 2L reps on SBA. I mean, SBA is awesome and it's a lot of fun. And so we're dealing with that. We're dealing with several uncontested spots. And so I think this was the year that anybody who wanted to be represented could have easily gotten onto the board. And I think a lot of people either didn't see SBA as the right route or don't see us as people who get things done. But the truth is we get things done. We do a lot. And we have that great connection with the administration, respect from the American Bar Association. And just a second what Nick said, I don't think SBA helps with job appointments at all. You might meet somebody who knew somebody who was on SBA, but we don't do anything with jobs. We're primarily, think about us as like ASB in high school, with a little bit of a law twist. We do travel grants. I need to double check on research grants, but we handle about, administration gives about $8,000 to allocate to clubs, groups, and we have completely open meetings. Everybody can attend our meetings. I guess we thought we were doing enough because people weren't coming to us with their concerns. But that's the thing, is we don't know there's a problem until someone brings us the problem. So now, hearing about this just a few weeks ago when Jasmine sent the email about the amendment, we had no idea. And so we're running around trying to figure out, who has a problem, how can we help, how can we solve this? Because there is a way that SBA can do something. We can address all these issues because, I mean, it's 30 graduate students, very specialized in law, and we all want to make sure that everybody feels represented. And so, frankly, it sucks to hear that people don't feel represented. And I myself am not a traditional student. I'm a JD MPH. And so I volunteered for this position. I showed interest because I want to help acknowledge that there are some non-traditional routes, but nobody who has a there was only JD students who ran for every, 30 positions on SBA out of 400 students, and the 1L routes will be selected as incoming, so maybe we'll get 1 or 2 there, but, this is just, I hope I convey that this is we take this extraordinarily seriously. There are some other issues, maybe concerns about how they're elected or voted, and we can address that, but I assure you that we have been on the phone, emailing, constantly trying to figure out how we can solve this, and I know we can do it, and we want to work with GPSC, but the way to do it is within SBA, because we talk to admin, we have the power, but really we're on campus and we see people and we know who we represent, and it's really important to us that everybody feels like they are represented on our campus.
Thank you, Raul.
Well, thank you. I don't want you to feel that we are trying to step on your toes or anything. We don't want to take power from SBA in any way. But it concerns me the fact that you immediately put us with the AJDs, and that's something that happens in the law school. And now that you mentioned the administration, there are people working in administration that don't know the difference between AJD and SJD. And that concerns me. I've been in the law school for 2 years, and I started this group because all the SJDs have problems, but there are problems within our program. It's a very special program. It's supposed to be a PhD, but it's not called a PhD because it's law, and we like to call things differently, and also they don't put us to teach. So. The first time we met all the SADs, and we all had the same troubles. And there are troubles that concern only to the SADs, and I think that's the problem. The other thing that you bring is that everybody will just run, but there's no office for SAD students. There are 4 representatives for second year law students. There are 4 representatives for 3-year students. At the Student Bar Association, I don't see a LLM representative or an SAD, an MSL. Where am I supposed to run? Am I supposed to run to represent the second year students? I am not second 12 student. Why should I represent them? We're not trying to step on anybody's toes. We're just trying to form a group that helps SC students. We're not trying to take power away from SBA. We think you are doing a great job. It's just that these are concerns these are issues that are specific to the SAD program. And honestly, having a representative at the Student Bar Association, although we would like that, I don't think that will be sufficient, because you're going to have 12 representatives for the JD program and only 1 SJD. So, and again, our interests are research, teaching. We are interested more in publishing in journals and working with the journals. So,
Yeah. I think in the interest of time, I think
also, I would like to remember that it is also happening in pharmacy, medicine.
Thanks. Well, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Brandon's right. We're spending way too much time.
I have one interjection. It's just one quick point about representation.
I move to table this until the next meeting.
Okay.
I want the law students to figure out what the hell is going on. Seriously, if you guys are appointing people to the GPSC, that is seriously not acceptable. So we need to have conversations outside of
Okay,
this.
and just for the record, I just want to make one quick point. There is another group called at-large representative, which is encompassing of any other group besides 2Ls and 1Ls.
Right.
So I think a communication factor needs to be brought into what every program is, and GPSC needs to recognize.
All right. The GPSC will recognize the things we recognize. Okay. We're moving on from this. I move also. Does anyone have any objection to the College of Medicine Phoenix getting their own representative?
Nope.
One person does.
I had a couple questions on that. Well, first, do you want to vote on tabling?
Are there objections to tabling?
Tabling it till next. We're meeting in 2 weeks. We can figure something more concrete out.
Before we table, I just want to add one piece of information that may not
Okay.
on the table that should be considered. Jasmine brought up a real good point in response to the issue of 2 reps or 3 reps. What that actually comes down to though is if we're amending the section of our Constitution that says who we can have, you know, how many, what the titles, what, you know, what, if we're gonna amend one part of the Constitution to add non-JD, we are violating the other part of the Constitution that says how many reps.
No, we're not.
Jim, we have a,
So,
okay, thank you.
so,
Jim, we're moving on now. Thank you.
so we
Thank you,
need
Jim.
to
Jim,
actually
seriously.
solve both problems.
This is a question that can be brought up as we go. We're tabling this issue. No one's objecting to it.
Yeah, actually, I objected.
Then I
and I'd
hand
like to call
motion to
it a
hand
vote.
vote to table this stupid fucking thing, okay? Anybody else? Ayes?
This is language professional, we vote on, yeah.
Can we vote on it, please?
Yes.
Ayes? Anybody nay? 1 nay, any abstention? Okay, 1 abstention. Alright, so guys, figure it out. I appreciate you coming. We'll try and work something out in the next 2
Thank you
weeks.
for having us, and we hope to hear from you guys soon.
Thank you very much.
Alright, now
Thank
it's
you, sorry.
College of Medicine Phoenix. Anyone have any objections to this? Zach?
Yeah, so a couple
Jim?
years ago, I know Jude has spoken this recently, but a couple years ago we considered whether or not we wanted to have representative from College of Medicine Phoenix. At the time, the conversation we had was that it's sort of far away, they can represent themselves,
Okay.
and they can, you know, apply for money from GPSC and the rest of it, because they're part of the University of Arizona system, but they have elected people, it's in Phoenix. I think we can let them do their own thing. Honestly, I don't think we have to sort of state this is what is best for you. And none of those guys are here right now asking for this in person. So I think we're long way. So yeah, it would be nice if you could be professional, Jasmine, and just making my statement. They're not here in person asking for this. I don't think we have to just guess what's best for them. On my experience, what they said is that we would like to represent ourselves.
Alright, Jim?
Do we know if the numbers that I sent out on behalf of the Reverend Dots committee as far as the number of medical students that are, does that include the Phoenix campus?
You were the one who saw the numbers. I don't know any more than you do. Anybody else?
I would, I'll see if I can find out, I've got those numbers from the Roman now.
Okay.
We might also have the same problem with
Jim? Okay.
the
Yes.
number of reps. Because, you know, frankly, if we're gonna violate one part of the Constitution to amend another, we might as well just not amend the first.
Jasmine?
There's no one from the College of Medicine Phoenix here because they're in Phoenix.
Yes.
So that's a definite point. Thank you for making my point, Jasmine.
I don't understand how us giving them a spot, if anyone wants it, would force them to do anything or in any way take away their autonomy.
Brandon?
So are there people proactively requesting that this be
I
created,
think,
or is this just one more spot that's gonna sit vacant? If they're,
I think someone requested to Sarah last year, but I don't know more than that. So I don't know who they were and I can't contact them. I'm happy to ask Sarah though, if that's what you want.
Okay. Brandon, you done?
yeah, I'm keeping it brief, again,
yeah.
quick comments.
We're gonna
so we
keep
can
this all
get through
brief.
something.
We, as GPSC, keep people who are not in Tucson as part of the GPSC. We have, you know, students who are online and students who are out of state have a spot, so I don't see how distance is gonna make a legitimate objection to this.
Oh.
That said, unless if someone wants to, we can go for it.
Jared just offered to reach out to College of Medicine Phoenix.
Okay, Jared's gonna reach out to College of Medicine Phoenix, that's great. Zach, did you have something to say? Oh, sorry, you Katie? Katie.
I was pretty much just gonna echo exactly what you said. As online rep and outreach, I mean, distance becomes less and less of an issue as platforms develop. And so I would say that we shouldn't exclude them just because of their proximity to the campus. And if they're interested,
Okay. Jim, do you have something else?
Yeah, why don't we table this until we hear back from Jared and kind of see what
Right.
things think.
Are there any,
Second table
any
motion.
objections to that? Okay, great, tabling it. Alright, I really wanna get into this, but we spent a half hour on this stupid constitution. So, the thing about the cultural centers is that I feel like we need a formally recognize that we should have a relationship with these people. What that formal relationship looks like is still up for discussion. I know I've heard people say we should have them as voting members. I've heard people say we should have them as non-voting members who have a voice legitimately. Right now, the only reason they have a voice at all is because I've essentially given them carte blanche to come and give a report every meeting. That could change depending on who's the assembly chair, and that's a serious problem for me. Even if I, as assembly chair, that's a real problem. So I think we need to seriously consider this. I would like to just informally ask if there's any objection to having some sort of formal relationship with these people in our Constitution.
Is there a proposal?
There's no proposal. I just want to. If there's anyone who's like, I have a serious philosophical problem with this, I would like them to say so.
I have a problem because I think we should just have a proposal and then react to it. Of course, we should have a relationship with them. What's the formal relationship? So I think we should have a proposal to react to.
Okay. My proposal is that we all figure it out in the next 2 weeks and table this until that point. But that we need to seriously, but we need to have a serious formal relationship by the beginning of school of some kind, even if it's just formalizing, say, you're non-voting or something, okay? That's my thought. Is there anyone else who wanted to respond or add to that?
If I could, do they have any sort of organization, do they have an internal government, do they have somebody who come and talk to us about what they want and how they want to do it, and we just kind of figure it out together?
They have their own participations. This is new territory, so they don't have a formal relationship with these cultural centers. It's not like there's roll call when I go to the LGBT office. They're not checking my dues or anything like that. So I think conversations between, and I've had some conversations with people from these cultural centers, and they want to be involved, but we're like still feeling out exactly what that looks like. And so I don't have any problem saying, hey, what do you guys want to do? And I have been doing that, but they want to be a part of what's going on. We have to figure out how to make it work with the structure that we have, but I don't think that we should be so like chaining down to the structure that we have that we, completely ignore this as a policy thing.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think we need to give them some kind of representation. I just don't know how to do it or what they want. I think it would just be really good if maybe can we maybe have a committee and meet with some folks from marginalized students and brainstorm and come up with ideas?
Are you proposing that?
Sure.
Okay.
A second.
All right, so we'll try and figure out who wants to be on the committee. Anybody? I'll be on there.
I'll do it.
We got 3 people. Anybody else want to do that? All right.
Do it.
All right. 4 people on the committee. All right. Cool. Ryan, do you have anything that you want to add to that?
A little bit, yeah. I just wanted to reiterate what Danielle was saying, that we want to help people who feel disenfranchised and who don't have a governing organization already to feed into GPSC, have a way to speak to us in a way that doesn't necessarily require them to reach a critical mass before they propose something to us. And so when individuals come, or when individuals have opinions about what should happen or what could happen or what they would like to see happen, I think that we need to bring these conversations forward. I had a conversation with one of the GAs in LGBT about a week and a half ago, and this person, I brought up with him, I'm like, I'm here to talk to you about whether or not we should have cultural center reps, and would LGBT want one? And he said, that's not a question I can answer right now, but we do want to be more involved with GPSC. And so the interest is there, but I think we first have to survey the field a little more and figure out if all the cultural centers even want the same thing, because they might not even see representation the same way. And so if we just start assigning spots to people, that's also against the spirit of activism, because we're just telling people we're going to solve your problem for you instead of reaching out. I'm a member of 4 of these organizations: DRC, Disability Resource Center, Women's Resource Center, Asian Pacific American Student Affairs, and LGBT. And I don't really feel like being told that I have a spot now. I want to be in a conversation where I help develop the spot. If we arrive at the same conclusion as we are proposing today, that we have spots for the cultural centers, let that be a conversation first.
Cool. I just want to, I think we as the GPSC have an ethical responsibility to represent these underrepresented groups. If we're going to say we're the advocacies for students. These are students that need to be advocated for.
I agree with everything that you just said. I think that there needs to be a lot more conversations and information that we need from all of these groups before we are able to make an informed decision on what we are going to do with that. I'm also going to move the table the discussion of adding multiple centers advocacy reps until we make a little bit more informed information and communications for all of these groups.
Second. All right, tabled. Great. Budget report. So we're gonna have 50 minutes into this meeting. Let's try and do this quickly.
Yeah, go in favor of the report. There's nothing really new, so with information from,
Okay. So are there any proposed budget amendments?
I've got something for the budget if no one
Okay.
else does.
Does anyone else have anything? Okay, so after Jasmine? Okay, Jasmine?
I do.
Elaine? Okay, Jasmine?
It came to my attention that there is a possibility we're going to start paying to reserve rooms in the student union for meetings, and there's no line in the budget for that at the moment, and I am strongly against us adding one. So I just want to make sure that we use the free resources that are available to us rather than eating into our already stretched thin budget to get us nicer rooms or whatever on earth the plan was there.
Okay, yeah,
I can
Chris?
answer that. So I think this is all coming about because we've gotten help bills from the student union for rooms. Really what that equates to is that we have an MOU with the student union. The business office is the one who will actually take those charges off or put them forward. The actual event planning office just does what they normally do and then puts that forward and sends it to us. But at the end of the day, when it comes to our accounts, nothing actually gets expensed out. And so that's kind of what, when Alexi saw that, who's our admin assistant, she was mistaken, and those charges usually get dropped off. Brian don't actually hit our account at the end of the day. And so really, the business office is the one that handles our MOU. The event planning office just kind of does what they normally do and expenses out. I do know that when we go beyond the 2 hours, sometimes there is a charge, and so we try and keep within that 2 hours. Normally they don't, but sometimes they will, especially if we're after hours, kind of like over the summer when the building manager is gone, and they have to pay the building manager overtime to actually stay for our meeting and to refresh the room and do all that stuff for the next day. We'll get charged for that, but usually union closes at 10, so we're usually not in that issue during the year.
Yeah, to be clear, I realize that like we don't get charged for the projector and we don't get charged for the first 2 hours. It's that apparently people have been trying to reserve rooms for longer than 2 hours, and if we do start getting charged for that, we need to stop that immediately.
I think don't spend money we don't have. Sounds like a good idea. All right, there are GEP proposals from 2016, 2017 that we need to work on. Is that
Chris, can you introduce this times?
Yeah, the GEP or
So B and C on the budget report.
Sure. Well, I know that there were some GEP proposals set forth for payment to some individuals, and so I'll leave that up to Jim or Elaine or whoever is proposing that, just to make sure that we're, because I know that one of the issues last year was the transparency with where the money's going, that sort of stuff. Felt like, if we're gonna go forward with some GDP things, because I know that there are a couple who wanted to try to work on that they go before the general council to make sure that what we're doing is what we need to do.
So, guys, remember at the last meeting, we voted to try to expend our student services fee, GEP money, by paying students to prepare the presentations this semester that they would give in the fall. Sent out an email on that. I got a pretty good response in view of the use on it. We ended up with 17 or 18 workshops. People turned in their materials, they signed their contracts, they turned in their time sheets. Worked out really well. I really think that this shows this is something that there's enough interest in that we really should give a lot of thought even though we don't have SSF funding for next year, there sure seemed to be a lot of interest to get that much response in that short a time span in the summer. You know, I think there's a lot of interest in this, and I think we should put some money, when we get our budget numbers to see what we have to work with, I think we should consider funding this from our general fund rather than strictly from, even though we don't have SSF money. And we may be able to get SSF money, you know, for the next year if we make another good showing funding it on our own. So the proposals ended up being exactly, coincidentally, $9,000. It was either 17 or 18. I think it was 18 is what it came up to. So that's what we got. You know, I think that there was a very short span of time for people to do a heck of a lot of work. And I'm just surprised that we never pulled.
Jim, can you speak louder in the future?
Sure.
Yeah. I think my biggest thing is the actual transparency of the payments and who's getting paid, how much they're getting paid, what they're getting paid for, because I know that that was an issue last year for everybody, and so I want to make sure that we're not going down that same road, and so that I just wanted to bring that up to everybody. So yeah.
So can we give out stipend amounts? I know we can't do it for
Well, I mean, it's what we're actually paying out. It's the funding. It's not a stipend amount. It's the actual fund amount. Just like if we're doing travel grants, if we're doing REAP, if we're doing anything like that, how much you're actually getting paid allocated. So.
Jasmine, Zach, and Elaine.
So the actual motion we voted on was to find some way of spending GEP money if it turned out that we had not already spent it.
That's correct. And that would be the case.
So based on the other things you sent out, it was attempted to be spent. What happened there?
Well, Sarah Neverton, our former president, attempted to reallocate the money. I talked with Teresa Westlow, the lady in charge of the SSF money. She concurred that those were not allocations which were allowable within the SSF.
So what information did you give her? Because the previous EB agreed that because we lost our GEP director or GEP admin, Sarah would be acting GEP admin, and she followed what we'd set out to SSF, or what we'd sent to SSFAB for the rules for deciding allocations. So what went wrong?
No idea. I wasn't part of it. I did talk to Teresa Westlow, and she concurred that those were not acceptable. Those were not allocations that were within the guidelines, and that were within the proposal that we put forth that we were given the money based on. Zach and I wrote a letter to business office reversed the allocations based on that, and we proceeded with what the council voted on. The other thing to realize is, even as Sarah was still president, she doesn't have the authority to override what the council voted on doing. So, and she wasn't president at the time. I mean, she's a great person, and I admire her, and she's, did a great job, but she didn't have the authority to start reallocating money after she was no longer president. So, that's what happened with that.
Oh no, I think it's, sorry.
Zach?
I think Chris has a response to.
Say something?
Sure. Yeah. I will. I want y'all to be able to make the best informed decision as well. And Jim talked with Teresa, apparently. I also talked with Teresa and Joel Hawk with the student services fee, as well as Stella Trevor, who's the business manager, and Alma, who also is a business manager at the Dean of Students Office. We all had a meeting together as well, and we were given the ability to, they did give us the ability to approve and put in what was originally allocated to the GEP for this year, to be able to allocate it out of the GEP funds for student services. So to us, and that was communicated, that
that happened this week.
What's that?
That happened.
That happened 2 weeks ago. I think. So they did allow us to be able to put those funds and say that it would be allowable for this even though it is brought up, that those, some of those allocations maybe weren't transparent, weren't, told to the general council, told to a lot of people, that they would allow it this year if we decide to go forward with it.
Zach, Elaine, Jasmine, Jim.
Okay, so I'll try to summarize. So Sarah approved two things, one for a law school event, one for pharmacy, totaling $4,000. There's no paper trail of those things. So if we want to approve and have a paper trail of the things that she pledged GPSC's money for, we need you to vote on those things retroactively today, because there's absolutely no paper trail anywhere that we as a group voted on those events. She just pledged that money to those events. Jim and I looked at those events, and so as other people, as Chris was referring to, these seem like great events. But if we care about being audited in the future, we should have a record that we as a group decided to spend that money. That's the 2016 GEP proposals. That's the summary. So I think we should vote on the two things that Sarah promised on our behalf. I don't think it's right if she did that, but I think it's better to move on and honor our commitments, even though those commitments were not done with any process. I'm proposing we vote on two things that Sarah committed us to without any process. So we have a paper trail.
Okay, so my comment has to do with the 2017 GEP and what Chris is talking about with transparency.
If we're going to
Yeah.
2016 stuff. Jasmine,
Yeah.
was you about the 2016?
Yeah.
Okay, Jasmine.
So the process for GEP was previously we had a GEP admin. There were applications that went to the GEP admin. GEP admin would either say yes or no on the applications. GPSC as a whole general council didn't vote on things like that. I don't know why we didn't. We just didn't. And that's been true for as long as I've been part of GPSC, I believe. So when Sarah effectively became the GEP admin, because we couldn't fill that position, she just continued along that process, except instead of rejecting any applications, she accepted all of them just because they all seemed very good to her. Same deal though, we didn't change the process at all by not voting as a general council. So if we're unhappy with that, we should definitely put that in the GEP handbook or whatever in the future. But the process was followed correctly. If there's no paper trail, it's because we had a bad process. Sorry about that.
Jim?
Yeah, so both Zach and Jasmine had some things that weren't quite correct. So, the SSF proposal requires the SSF proposal that we file to get the money from SSF specifies that when someone wants to do a GEP workshop, they fill out a proposal, it's judged, and so forth. Nothing that Sarah did, there was no proposal generated for anything Sarah did.
That's not true.
Well, there was nothing in the web form. There were no proposals that way Ren could find. If there were any written proposals, I've never seen them. If there were, that would be nice for a paper trail. The events that Sarah wanted to allocate that money for were first $3,000 to pay for the keynote speaker for the I Will campaign. The second item was $1,000 for a speaker named Wade Davis at the Women's Center. And I don't know anything about it other than that. I'm assuming it was a good program and it was beneficial for students and it was great stuff. The third thing was $100 to pay for pizza for the Dean of Students First Amendment lecture. The fourth thing was $1,000 for a keynote speaker for a College of Law seminar, is that what you call it?
It was a law and higher education. So.
Yes. And the fifth one was $3,000 to, which was a pledge in support of a symposium at the College of Nursing. Now, none of those things are workshops, okay? But they were all good things. Now, what we're actually faced with is we have to answer to our constituents. We were given that that money, that student services fee money, for a specific thing, and we're supposed to spend it on that specific thing. If we want to spend it on different things, we can vote to do that. I mean, we're nominally representing our constituents. You know, I'm worried that our constituents might not like us taking their fee money that we were supposed to spend on one thing and us spending it on another thing. But we can certainly vote to do that. So if we use the GEP, the student services fee, GEP money to pay for those things, we would have to pay, we still have to pay, we got proposals, we signed contracts, people did the work, we still have to pay them. We could do that from the general fund. That's, I think, what Chris was proposing. And we could certainly vote to do that. It would just seem to me to make more sense to pay the GEP people from, the GEP workshops from the GEP money, and then pay Sarah's allocations from the general fund. But that's, that would seem to me that then we don't have this problem with, are we spending the student fee money on something we really shouldn't? But other people can certainly offer thoughts.
Jasmine.
Yeah, that was.
Zach, and then Jasmine, and then Elaine.
So this is actually Mariia.
Okay.
Let me get her.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, I wanted to thank Jim for telling us in detail, presenting this information, how the money was spent. Because I was the secretary last year, and I was recording the minutes, and I don't really remember we ever talked about how this money was being spent, even during the evening meetings, and of course not during the GC meetings. And maybe this was discussed somehow, but I wasn't present, so maybe it wasn't at the meetings at all. Do you think that we should be really thinking on how we want the money to be spent and spending the money in a reasonable manner? If this wasn't discussed with the council, then we should of course think about honoring promises, but we should also think about what our constituents would want us to spend the money on and how they would want us to spend the money, and give it some thought and not just approve everything just as is. That's my opinion on the matter.
Jasmine.
Just a note about what GEP money can be spent on. It doesn't just have to be workshops. Outside speakers are fine too.
Elaine.
Okay, so I want to critically kidnap something Mariia just said about being aware of what our constituents would want the money to be spent on, and to respectfully somewhat disagree with Jen. I think that while there's a problem with the process by which it wasn't necessarily open to the GC how Sarah was deciding, she had the power as the admin to make those decisions, but it wasn't clear what those decisions were coming from. So that seems to me problematic. But aside from that, let's let that just go back to the past. It seems to me that sponsoring Wade Davis or Erwin Cheraminsky, these are things that students want. And those talks were well attended. So if we fund them, that doesn't seem like a bad idea to me. And I think what Jim is saying in the bottom line makes sense, that we want to fund those things out of the general account, the general fund, and then we want to fund GEP out of GEP. And I want to say something about GEP as well, because of the 18 workshops that were proposed, I proposed 7 of them. And there were 2 series. There were actually 3 types of workshops. One was a workshop on grading for GATS and the humanities. The other 2 sets of workshops were for international students, soft skills, and women's soft skills in academia. So soft skills including such things as writing email, interviewing, other kinds of things that are consequential for such things as work assignments, compensation, funding, but don't really get taught necessarily to students. And so the idea was especially to reach out to Chinese-speaking students who are sometimes the most distant from the American system. And my task was to create bilingual presentations where I could reach these students and explain to them how to be the same student that they were when they came here, honor their way of doing things, but also have them be able to navigate the American system so they're not left behind. And that was why I proposed 7 workshops. But you should know that of the 18 workshops, 1 third of them are mine. So if you think about $9,000, then you already have a sense of like, I got a significant amount of money out of that. But I also did a significant amount of work, and I think it's necessary work to help students on this campus. And I've actually talked with people even before I was a rep to find out more about how Chinese students could be better served on this campus by other graduate students. International students too, because in SLAT in my program there's a lot of international students. So even people who have like really superior English better than mine, struggle with such things as writing emails. And it seems like really trivial maybe, but it's actually super important to be able to communicate with the people who like control your life as a grad student. So that's why I proposed 7 workshops, just to be real open about that.
Okay. Jim and then Zach.
Yeah. So to provide all of the information, pretty much it's different for the different things that are allocated money for. But the bottom line on pretty much all of it was she didn't talk to the general counsel about it, and the general counsel didn't approve the expenditure. I'm personally concerned as the treasurer that money is getting spent that the general counsel is not approving, that we didn't know about. And from the way I've seen this work with the business office, there doesn't seem to be any checks or balances or any way to stop that from continuing to happen in the future. So the one real important thing we need to take away from this, no matter what we decide to spend money on, which accounts we take things from, is right now, you know, our former president, after she was no longer president, did stuff and spent money, and I didn't know about it, Zach didn't know about it, the council didn't know about it, but it happened. And nobody, neither Zach nor I or the council approved it, and it happened. And I don't see any way there's nothing been done to change that or to fix that problem. And that's something we need to do something about.
Zach.
Okay, so back to the 2016, I move that we approve those proposals, and this fits 2 of my goals. One goal is Summer of Sunlight, so we're honest and looking at each other, and ultimately graduate students, about what we do right and what we do not do right. I don't think last year's process was right, but as Elaine pointed out, we're well attended. So, you know, it's like a mitzvah a little bit. Second, you know, I've talked to a lot of you guys individually. I think we should move on, starting very soon, and this is a process of moving on once we vote on the item B under fiscal year 2016. So I move that we approve the 2 things that Sarah promised without any process, so we can move on. And
So Jim
documentation.
mentioned about 6 things.
That's
Which
in
2 are we voting?
2017, I'm talking about 2016.
No, in 2016, there were actually 5 allocations of GEP money totaling almost $10,000, $200 short of $10,000.
So which ones are we voting on?
I propose just the 2. How many? Is it 2?
Well, can you give us? I mean, so Chris, the first one is the $3,000 for the keynote speaker for the I Will campaign. My understanding is that's already been paid and there's no voting on it. It's already a done deal.
Correct.
Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so there's no voting on that.
Okay.
So the only 2 that have not been paid are the 2 that
Okay.
you were talking about.
Okay.
The College of Law and the Office of Nursing.
Okay.
$4,000.
$4,000.
Great.
And
Thanks.
for what it's worth, I talked to the folks about that speaker's event was actually filmed, and he gave me the link for it. We can put it on our website somewhere. People can still see that, and they can still, you know, benefit from it. You know, the nursing thing, I don't know, I didn't watch it myself, but, you know, all students would have been able to attend if we'd known about it before it happened. But at least we have a video, and people can still watch it. And, you know, both the nursing event and the College of Law event were good things. And, you know, they were beneficial things. And if someone, Sarah or someone had come to us and asked us to fund those things, we probably would have, really. So
Okay, my motion is
Second motion.
All right.
Yes votes? Nay votes? Abstentions? 2, 3, 5. Alright, 5 or 6 abstentions, 5, what?
Do we want to decide which things are coming out?
Chris, can you?
Yeah,
interject here, please?
I'll kind of interject in there a little bit. You know, looking at, the 9,000, I think it's great. To be honest with you, with the GEP program for the past couple of years, kind of struggled a little bit. So to see that we were able to get that many is great. Because, in 2014, 2015, we only expensed out about $2,400 out of 10,000. And so it has been one of those programs that I think has been needing to be looked at, reevaluated, and that's something I think we can definitely do in 2017. But definitely note that in our student services fee report that we put out, saying that we are going to be doing X number of GEP workshops, and we've had a good turnout, and we're going to do assessment on it, and we're going to evaluate it, and we're going to come back next year potentially to show you that we need this. So I think that's great. I think it's awesome. The one issue I'm struggling with though is being able to expense out next year money out of this fiscal year student services fee money,
Okay.
which I know is definitely not looked well upon, and actually probably not doable. I'll be honest with you, to be able to afford to pay individuals for work that hasn't been rendered yet, but out of the student services fee, because we don't really control that money. That money is given back, whatever we don't use, to student services fee, to be reallocated for that fiscal year specifically. But there is a way for us to do it with our money, our internal GPSC funds and so forth. So for me, I would keep it how it is and kind of go forward that way, and really work towards 2017, and put this past fiscal year in the past. That would be my suggestion, but.
So I believe that the motion we just passed was essentially to approve the expenses as Sarah attempted to make them, meaning I don't think we need to vote again to just keep the money coming out of the GEP budget.
Right, so, Jude, I think, did you want to say anything?
No.
Okay, Jim, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, because there seemed to be some confusion on that. What the original plan, which is what we actually did, was to pay people this semester to prepare all of the materials, because that's the bulk of what we pay somebody for on GEP. Because if it's like 2 hours to present, we pay them 2 hours. Most of the money goes to putting presentations together. So that work has been done, and I've got all the presentations. So it's done. The work is done, and we could pay for it if we want to do it.
Alright, so I understand it right now, we're gonna pay this stuff out of the GEP. Like, is there anyone who wants to say, no, we should pay out of the general fund? Okay, we're putting a lid on that. Should we cover the fiscal year 2017? Is there something else that needs to be brought up here? Right?
In 2017 are things that Elaine is bringing up
Right.
to her credit. So now we should talk about the GEP proposals for 2000, things that now would be spent from next year's budget. That's what Chris was saying.
There's a motion to table this actually.
Oh, yeah, there's a motion to table this. Does anyone object to the motion to table this to the next 2 weeks from now? Alright, we'll table this. Okay, honoring previous directors. Zach, you want to say something about this?
Yes, so, we've, thank you. So we have two, people in the past who just, contextualize this. So our travel grants fund has been around about 20 years, and it's our bread and butter. We've given out over $1 million plus in the 20 or so years we've had it. It's a huge deal. And it was a big deal about 5, 6 years ago when I first came to GPSC, and then when Cameron started, Cameron Manoon, at one point we were increasing our travel grants applications by 18% every 2 months. So it was a huge, huge increase in demand. And because we wrote good applications to SSFAB, and Cameron did a great job and so forth, that program has grown even more. Now we are losing a lot of money next year in that program, but it's still a huge program. And a big reason why that program is so successful is because we have Cameron who's been in that role for 4 years. I was on the interview committee with him. He called in from China, It was like 6 in the morning, sort of like Maria's doing now. And we had 3 great candidates, and he kind of was a little bit of one candidate, a little bit of the other candidate. In the end, we chose him, and I would say we knew he was that great, but I think we also just got lucky. So that's why it's nice if we can recognize him, recognize planning for his efforts for 4 years. We've never had someone serve that long. We're extremely fortunate to have had him. I think Chris got him a plaque of some sort. So we can give that to Cameron at a different time. I thought he would be here tonight, but that's okay. At least we can say some good things about him, and I'll continue to talk about Joni. So, and I'll have to talk about Jasmine as well. So 4 years ago, a couple years ago, we had a strategic plan, and one of the plans was to create a research grant program that would be at the other pillar of GPSC services. And I was able to raise some funds early, $150,000 and so forth. But we had, I just raised the money. The people who were really responsible for doing a great job on it are Jasmine, first of all, who's been the REAP committee director, and we had a girl,
Jenna
Klosterman, who's now the Jeff Folsom Laboratory at Pasadena, as she was last time I knew. And that first year was a good year, but then we had Joni, and she served now for 2 years, and the program has continued to grow, but I think it's not just some sort of exponential growth, it's also been the quality of the work and the quality of the applications and the quality of our interaction and judgment of that work. And so Joni served for 2 years, and we're extremely lucky to have her. So same thing, I think Chris got plaques for both of these people, so this is just a public recognition for 2 great people we've had within GPSC. We're super lucky to have them. It's an anomaly to have people who will serve in an administrative role for more than a year, and we're all lucky to have had both of these people. And I think, like I said, Chris got 2 plaques for them, and we can present them these plaques and say thank you for your service to GPSC and ultimately the graduate professional students who benefited from their excellent efforts. So,
awesome. Applaud for these people. So we're now 40 minutes before we need to end. So is there anything anyone would like to withdraw quickly before we dive into hiring? I know the cap and gown issue at the very bottom doesn't need to be addressed today, but is there anything, I moved the table that for sure. Is there anything else you think? Has to, okay. So hiring stuff. Since Cameron and Joni are leaving, we're hiring new people. We're also hiring and searching for other things. So Zach, you want to take over?
sure. So the travel grant director, we had, so I led the committee since Cameron was finishing up with yet a final round. Lots of people. It's a lot of work to get judges. If you guys have judged in this room, thank you, because it's a lot of work. Cameron said, just go ahead and lead the committee, and we had, I think, 4 or 5 people in the committee. We had 5 excellent candidates. The person who won out is a person named Danielle Moser, and she's going to be starting in July. I'm not exactly sure. She's transitioning from one job and now to the other one, but she'll be up and running for sure by August 1st, and she was an excellent candidate for the position. So the hiring committee for the travel grants hiring committee doesn't vote on these people. Ultimately, we do, the general counsel. This is your power, budget, these kind of things. We recommend we hire Janelle Moser as the next travel grants director, starting nominally July 1st, but it might be sort of a slow run up, but she'll be fully operational by August 1st. So that's the proposal, Janelle Moser, the travel grants director.
I move to hire her.
Second. Actually, it's coming second from committee, silly me.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yes votes? No votes? Abstentions? Alright, 2 abstentions. Awesome. Cool. Research and projects director.
It's probably Jasmine.
Shout out to Jasmine.
Yeah, so we had 3 good candidates, and out of them, it sort of came down to Joni's final call, because she's the one who's been in the position for 2 years, but she consulted with a lot of other people who were part of the interview, people who weren't part of the interview. Ultimately decided on Charlotte, and her last name escapes me at the moment, but she's actually already started training with Joni, which is awesome, and she should be taking over in about 2 weeks, I believe, assuming we approve her. Actually, in about 1 week, assuming we approve her.
I've met this girl, a woman. She's excellent. She's already halfway done with the training. So I move to hire her too.
Second.
Yes.
Coming seconded from committee, so,
Yes.
yeah.
Noes. Abstention. 2 abstain. Okay. Great. All right. So stipend increase for events and travel and research. There was some
Yes.
conversation about this already.
Basically, we're not competitive The Dean of Students stipends for graduate students are already on the low end, and we're like in the middle of Dean of Students. So we actually missed out on 2 amazing candidates for travel grants because both of them said, wait, that would be like a 40% pay cut. Never mind, I don't want the position anymore. So partly to prevent this from happening next year, and partly because it's sort of unfair because these are difficult positions and we should probably be compensating them closer to the average for grad students here and not the low end. The proposal was to increase the stipends for both of these positions by $2,000 a year. So that takes it from $13,000 to $15,000, I believe. 3 positions, because it would not make sense for us to increase stipend for research and travel grants directors and not for events director. We're not increasing stipends this year for our other 3 stipend positions because our other 3 stipend positions can vote, and that would not be okay. So.
Does that make sense to everybody? We can't increase if you're going to vote. There's a conflict of interest, but we want to increase events, travel, research for $2,000 to $15,000 a year, which, as you all know, is not that much money. So I move that we increase each of them $2,000.
Brandon wants to say something.
So how much work is required per week?
40 hours a week for travel grants, which means that's kind of also not okay, and about 20 for research grants, I believe, although Joni could just be making it look easy.
Okay, and these 2 are currently both being paid the same amount?
Yeah.
So
because we're not allowed,
40 hours and the other
we're not allowed to give more than a 0.5 GA-ship, so,
Okay.
yeah. We're trying to do
So
things to
that's-
bring down the workload on travel grants to make it more fair.
Yeah, so that's included with that is stipend as a GA ship.
And do we have the money
Yes.
to count for this?
Yep.
Okay. Anything else anybody wanted to say? Jen, did you want to say something?
I was just gonna say, although we don't really have budget numbers yet, it's not that much money, I think we can cover that. Also for the, I talked to Cameron, about the issues with all the work that's required for travel grants. He has said that, they have an intern, is that the right term? Who really helped a lot and really cut back the workload that he was facing. So I think we should get an intern in place
Yeah.
for our new travel grants person, and hopefully try to get that 40 hours down to something. The 40 hours that the person really has to work, down a little closer to what we're paying for.
And that 40 hours really took effect this year. We've seen a huge boom in the number of travel grants that people have been requesting, especially this past year. It went from having like 95 to like 110 per round to like 200 plus, and so that really messed up the process and having to get judges and do all that kind of stuff. And so yeah, we've seen that it's amazing. I mean, it's awesome that we're being looked at that way as far as GPSC, but it does add a lot of extra work.
I know there was a conversation at some point, which may not be relevant anymore, but about hiring a full-time person for this job because it's so, and I'm not bringing that up, I'm just, as a context, Cameron really suggested that that's probably what we should be looking at in the next 2-3 years because this is a lot of work and it's our most successful thing that we do. You guys think we're good?
Almost, but in the meantime.
Okay, so I'm motioning again to increase events, travel, and research $2,000 a year to $15,000 stipend plus tuition. Second. Yes votes. No votes. Abstention. 3 abstentions. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so Director of Legislative Affairs. We have a candidate in place?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have 2 major candidates for this. It's not huge. We started a little bit later. The one who we ultimately going to recommend, her name is Jessie Baxter. She has numerous years of experience, I think 7 to 10, at Congressman Grijalva's office, which is just down at the university. So she has experience at the federal level, at the state level, the local level. She has a lot of ideas about how we can best do our advocacy. She thinks we can get more done at the state level, a few things at the federal level, because the federal is a big, complicated thing. And we had a really good second candidate, but in the end, her congressional experience kind of won out. I don't think GPC's ever had someone this experienced in this role. So that's the person we're recommending that the general council consider and approve. Her name is Jessie Baxter, and again, she had congressional experience, and she's going to be starting her master's degree in some water policy through CALS in the fall. So that's the candidate we're recommending.
I'm kind of making motions.
It's seconded from committee. You don't need to.
All right, so all yes votes? All no votes? All abstentions? 1, 2 abstentions. Okay. Great. Institute director.
Sure. So Director Lux declares this person is going to go to the legislature. It's more of an outward-facing position that contextualizes the institute director, who's going to be more on the back end. And we would recommend a person named Ezra Smith, who served 2 years ago, most recently in this exact role. We had another person who applied, but once we met him, we thought he was clearly the best person for the job. So in the past, GPSC created a GPSC Institute, which is where we do surveys every year, so we do data-driven advocacy. The basic idea behind this is that instead of going to administrators or whoever else and saying, this is what we want, we can say, this is what graduate students tell us they want, and we have data to show so. So anyway, Ezra's done this in the past. It was easy to recommend him. This time around, we think he'd be a great person to lead us and do 4 to 6 surveys this next year. And in 2 weeks, if he's approved, then I'll probably recommend 2 or 3 surveys we can do at least in the fall. So if everyone has an input on the surveys we'll do, and he can get started working with people he needs to working with. So Ezra Smith.
Karen?
I just want to add, so I was in the hiring interview with Ezra Smith, and something I was really impressed by 2 ways was Jude asked this really great question about how would you be an advocate for students in this role? And Ezra's response was really interesting and I thought really right on target. And he said that his job as an advocate was to do his best work with the surveys and let the surveys be interpreted by others who would have more power and latitude than him to actually make things happen for graduate students. So I thought that was a really smart and actually very political response to a question where he said he wasn't political. And so I see him as being smart enough to do this job. I was really impressed by him.
Move to hire Ezra Smith. Yes votes? No votes? Abstentions? 2 abstentions? Great. Awesome. Okay, fall 2016 travel plan. This was Jude, your stuff?
Yeah, so first off, I want to say that regarding our out-of-state travels and the in-state travels as well, it's going to be entirely open to everyone who's interested in going. It's not going to be based on personal friendship or whatsoever, whatever it is going to be asked. I did open the travel to Ego, but I think I didn't get any responses. The weekly travels out of state in the fall and 2 in the spring. I plan not to attend at least 1 in the semester just to give other people opportunities to go as well. As it were, because we will be having limited budgets, I think in the past we've sent in 4 to 6 delegates. Considering that this time around we only have 2 to 3 persons going at most, so we can keep our expenses minimal. And that being said, the next thing is, if you're interested in going to any of these travels, as we get closer to each of the dates, I'm going to come and announce that we are having this travel coming up. If you're interested in going, you just show your interest by letting me know. And if we do have more persons who are interested in going, then we can come to the council and decide who we want to send actually. But I would like to suggest that priority should be given to those who are in the council for the first time this year, who might have not had this experience already, so that they too can also get the experience, and more importantly, those who also would like to be here in the following year, so that they can also get some experience that they may want to pass on to the next administration. I know for me, I was lucky enough to attend one of these conferences, and getting that experience was beneficial for me being in this position right now. So I'd like to be open for those who would like to be here in the coming year. And also to those who have not attended at all. And lastly, I'd say that whoever goes would return with a report to the council and tell us whatever they thought and how that would be beneficial to us. And So the first trial will be happening in August. I don't have dates yet for the other two. The first one will be August 1st to August 3rd. If you're interested, I think that will be for the leadership development and can't remember the exact words, but it's any GPS. And if you're interested in going, just let me know within now because it will be end of next week so that we can start making plans towards that. A lot of things I think I need to work with the administrative assistant to do your travel authorization if you're interested in going. It would be nice to let me know so that by the next meeting we'll have, we can decide on who will be going and who will not be going.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. Increasing social budget. Elaine.
Yes, I wanted to bring to the council's attention that some of the things that I'm trying to do this year include increasing the menu items that we have at Gentle Ben's. And I have an invoice here and I can describe it to you. It's actually once a month that we have planned so far, given the constraints of the budget right now, which is approximately $8,000. So we have meatballs, chicken taquitos, beef chimichangas, deviled eggs, fresh fruit platter, fresh vegetable platters, chips and salsa. And with half off, and adding tax and 20% gratuity, it comes out to $509.36. And this should easily feed like 150 people. We're not trying to feed people dinner, we're trying to give them some finger foods to mingle over and like they can buy some drinks. And the idea is that we increase the numbers of students who come, and the idea from changing it from once weekly or every week to once a month was to have more and better food. Because we were running out of food before, we just couldn't pay enough to like feed all the people who came. Like it averaged like 76 people a week. And if we move it to Thursdays, which is what we're hoping to do, we're expecting to get more people because on Fridays people have commitments, like work meetings and things like that. And like also evening commitments, they have family plans or whatever. So they're not able to come out. So how this relates to increasing, potentially, maybe, the social budget is that it seems like it could be a good idea to have this event twice a month. Just so it's not so spread out and so people can continue conversations that they start with GPSC members who I hope would actually come out to this and like mingle with the constituents and show people that GPSC is actually doing really good work this year and get ideas from the constituents about things that we can like carry forward as we advance through the year. So if we can get more money, that would be great, but I also know we're like in a budgetary constraint right now, so if people don't want to do that, that's totally fine too. We can still work with what we have to like hold this event once a month and to still partner with Campus Rec on some of the mental health wellness issues that Zach brought up in his Summer in Sunlight article in the Daily Wildcat. That for me personally, this is very important because I actually deal with some mental health struggles. And exercising has made a huge difference in my ability to be a successful student. So having this program through Campus Rec, I think, reaches out to people in a way that doesn't actually cause them to have to identify themselves as people who need services that would, you know, cause them to feel perhaps uncomfortable. And it's also more democratic because anybody can take advantage of this. And so that's kind of my spin. And right now we're doing these smoothie socials where on Thursdays after pool lessons, students can come together and have a smoothie on us and like have fellowship. And then GPSC reps are out there. Danielle was there last time, and so was Jude. And people just learn more about what GPSC is up to and like what things we can do together if we like come together and actually hang out and have fellowship. And so far we've spent about $150, just under $150 on the smoothie socials. So they're not really that expensive when you consider that an $8,000 budget. Like for the summer, we'll probably spend about $250.
Zach, did you have something?
Yes. Two things. Great job on the smoothie socials. Thanks for being courageous and sharing your own struggles. Actually, if you look at national percentages, graduate students' mental health is huge. So thanks for that. The main thing I want to say about this, I'm for increasing the budget, and she's done a lot of work. But if we have $100,000 left over, we can roll into next year, which Chris thinks we're going to have roughly that. I think at least $90,000 should go to travel grants. So we're in this room to represent graduate professional students right now with $150,000 less. So before we start thinking about all things we want to spend money on, if we get money, I think we have to keep in mind we need to have at least, I would say, 90% of that money go to travel grants, because that's the people we represent. We don't, I think that's where we need our focus to be, not about things we can do internally, even if they do ultimately help some people here and there. So that's my comment. Thanks, Elaine.
Thanks, Ed.
I'm gonna go with Jasmine.
Okay, this is actually Jared.
Jared. So I'll go with Jared. I think that putting that $100,000 mainly towards travel grants is a great idea, but I don't see necessarily adding like $2,000-3,000 to the social budget is going to break our travel grant thing.
That's
So
what I just said.
that's what I'm.
Thanks for restating.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So maybe 80 or 85% goes to the travel, and some of it goes to the social. For these social events are incredibly important for grad students. I'm not willing, if I can't leave my house because I'm afraid of people, then I'm not willing to travel out of the state. And that's sometimes we've all been there. So what I would like to maybe see is maybe more smart deployment of things. So maybe we can have twice a month some months and once a month other months. Maybe a little bit more flexibility in your plan would be good to see. Just putting that out there, because I know that, for instance, in August I'm not necessarily available for social stuff, just that kind of stuff. And I know you're working really hard on getting like my constituents over there with that stuff, and we're gonna look forward to it this year. So thanks for all your hard work, and I think moving some money towards your way is not is a great idea actually. So Jared has some.
Yeah. And then actually Danielle's got something right after Jared. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jared says, oh sorry, is he?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Jared says he thinks that we shouldn't hand out, or we shouldn't reallocate money until Jim has a concrete idea of what's in the budget. And also that we should not change the budget over the summer with most people gone.
Okay.
And then Danielle moves to table.
Danielle moves
So,
to table.
Maybe we should hear from,
I think we should hear from, sorry, I don't know your name.
This is Karthik.
And
I'm from non-MBA.
Okay.
So I wanted to know more information about the event. Are we going to replace the every Friday social event to by
Yeah, we were, so given what we have to work with the budget right now, as it stands, we're looking to maybe do something with like more students and more food once a month at Gentle Ben's on Thursdays, which we think would draw more people and be easier for people to manage in their schedules.
But how does it ensure more students?
Feedback I've gotten from some constituents tells me that it would be easier to make it out once a month than to like try to come out every week.
Because I find that the Friday every week seems to be convenient for many students. They seem to like it. I mean, there's a light snack, coming down. Then just do twice a week. It's twice a month. It's much easier to miss it because of some extra meeting on Friday or something like that. And Thursday would be even more difficult for them because Friday is the time when they get their time off. At least that's the story from my constituency and few other people I know.
Okay, well thank you for your feedback.
So as it is, the Friday thing seems to be working well.
And Marquez and then Jim, sorry, we're tabling after that.
Yeah, I don't know what I was going to say, but I think it might be in our best interest for when we do start the social events that we actually talk to everybody that's at those events so that we can actually talk to them, get some information as far as what's going to work for them, what we're actually using for this current year before we make any decisions as far as exactly how much that we increase, so that we can be a little bit more informed and not spend too much and have it not go where we want it to go. But I also agree that we need to probably wait and see exactly what we have so that we can allocate those appropriately. But
We had a motion to table, any objections? So let's get more information on the budget and we'll go from there. Reinstating EB bylaws.
can I table this? Or can I move to table this?
Yeah, so are there any objections to tabling this till 2 weeks from now? Great. The marginalized students letter, I'm gonna withdraw this right now, unless anyone has any interest in talking about it.
You're just not going to talk about it right now?
Do you wanna table till next?
I'll table it till
Okay.
next.
Okay.
Basically, look at the letter that I sent out, read it, respond to it. Okay, and then there was,
If you haven't looked at it, that's
yeah, thank you. Zach worked really hard on that. Okay, so funding opportunities, Noam Chomsky. I think Elaine, were you going to talk mostly about this?
Well, I'll leave it to Bill because
Bill.
he's been working more closely with the people who are orchestrating the event.
Bill from Northwest. You two also know things. semester, one of the faculty in linguistics approached me right after I became a rep about the fact that Noam Chomsky wants to come here for an entire semester. He has most of his former students are faculty in the linguistics department, so he has a close relationship with our linguistics department. He wants to come for an entire semester, and as I understand it, some of the things that they're hoping to have him do are teach a course, not a course on linguistics, but to teach a course basically on and relevant to all of the other work that he's done. So the way that I understand it, potentially a course that's open, that's on like, student or social issues or like activism, his political stuff that we probably on him for. And also the idea is to have him have regular open office hours so that students can come and meet with him one-on-one and get time to talk to him, talk with him about, mainly about their research, right? And he's done that on a more limited basis the other times that he's here. And the request or the way that we got approached was to try to come up with some funding through GPSC to support his visit. And as I understand it, based on what Zach and I talked about earlier, the cost of his visit will be $40,000. If you want to jump into that more.
Sure. So,
sorry,
the cost of the visit
I'm
is
circumventing the rules here.
Okay, Zach, go for it.
okay. So the cost is $40,000 to we understand. Yeah, I threw out the number $4,000. If we, as a group, in various ways, could put in $4,000, that could be useful as long as Noam is meeting with people individually and making sure it's a broader thing. With our current structure, I think what we could do, and this is why Bill and Elaine are part of this, is submit individual professional opportunity development funding proposals. They could be so linked together. For each of them were $1,300 or something like that. Those three together could make around $4,000 and so forth. We could, I guess, as an option, just say we want to vote and get a chunk of money, but I think it would be better if we went through a process where we have to, consider more in depth that if there's three proposals and two get through, and that's what we provide to the SBS and political science and a bunch of other people who are interested in Noam's work. He also does a lot with biolinguistics, which I think we know some about, which is the genetic and physical basis for linguistics, those kind of things. Anyway, so I think the current way we can do this is submit a few POD requests, and if those are approved, then maybe that's how we can support Noam Chomsky's visit.
Just to piggyback off that, and one thing I just want to add, I think it's great that he's up for coming, and it sounds like he wants to be involved, and I think it's a good idea to try to figure out how we can support that on some level. But the one concern that I want to raise, both of my own and something that some of my constituents have said to me, we don't know a lot yet about like what he needs funding for, so there are a lot of questions that don't have answers yet. But the one thing that I just want to advocate for is that whatever GPSC money goes to his visit, I think we should know exactly what it's going for. Because as it stands right now, like, I have not been able to get a clear answer of what they want money for, and that seems problematic to me.
Okay. It was me, Elaine, and Jasmine. So, as I understand, the professional development grants are only good for $500 for a speaker each. So if we're going to go Zach's route on funding this, which I think we should fund this, we need to make sure that that's how that works, because I've done that and $500 is the max we can pay. So if we would do it that way, we just need to make sure we're doing it above board. That's fine. And Elaine and then Jasmine.
Yeah, so Bill and I had a couple seconds to talk about this before the meeting, and one thing that seems really obvious to me is that we have to really have a list or an outline of deliverables. And that would mean how many hours are spent per week with graduate students, how many are set aside for graduate students. Are undergraduates going to participate in this too? If so, is ASUA going to kick in any money? And as far as the office hours of graduate students, for me, it seems like it could be a really great opportunity for students from disciplines that are not related to social sciences to have a chance to talk with someone who's a cultural, intellectual figure. And to really get some feedback about activism. I mean, he's ancient. What is he, over 80s, over 90s? He's old. He's seen a lot of social movements. And he has a rich foundation of experience on how activism works. And so as a former English student in the English department here at U of A, I would have loved to have sat down with Chomsky. And maybe as an undergraduate that won't happen, but as a graduate student, for me, when I was in my previous graduate program, which was in English, if I had had a chance to sit down with Chomsky, I would have gone to that school for that reason. it's like an amazing opportunity to like sit down with an intellectual of that status. He's like the most quoted intellectual like of all time. So I mean, even if you don't agree with his take on linguistics, even if you don't agree with his type of activism, he is a presence. And to have that kind of chance, like interact one-to-one with someone who has that kind of experience in cultural capital is a really valuable experience, I think, especially at a public university, where so often we are like distanced from star faculty and like have to like work really hard and compete with one another to do that and to get that time. So for him to like be able to offer this time to us, I think is something that we really want to like advertise to our constituents and like get people excited about this. And I'm not talking about the money, I'm talking about like getting the student interests to take advantage of this opportunity, so it's not just linguistics students or SLAT students. Like, I know about Chomsky because I'm in SLAT. But if you didn't know about Chomsky, you might want to like meet with him anyway if you knew why he was like so cool to everybody else who knew about him.
Okay, Jasmine and then Bill.
I think it sounds great. I would just prefer this not come out of POD because, yeah, kind of like what Danielle said, POD is very restrictive. We would not be able to chain together POD grants most likely and still stick to our own guidelines. But because this is awesome, I do think we should try to fund it. And then Jared pitches in that previously we funded, it was like almost, I think it was like $1,500 or something for a staff member's professional development trip to a conference. So clearly similar expenditures, this isn't, quite it's not quite the same thing, but similar expenditures have been approved and have been allowed to be in our budget. So I think if we just create a new line item for something like that, I think we should be fine.
Okay.
I don't want to keep talking about this too much because I recognize that brevity is a big thing. The one thing I just want to mention though, since I'm in the linguistics department, I saw a lot of the back end of when he was here this past academic year. And I do want to just put out there that one thing that I really noticed was that, originally he was supposed to be here for however long it was, I don't remember. His trip got cut short. And then all of a sudden a lot of his time got taken up doing events at the college level, when originally his trip was planned as a way to like come and spend time with linguistics graduate students. And all of a sudden it seemed to me, watching it happen, that the amount of time that he actually spent with linguistics grad students went down substantially because of these higher level events like the privacy event, things like that, which I didn't go to, but I'm sure it was fantastic and I know it was well attended. But I guess my point is that if we're going to contribute money, which I think that we should, I want to put him to work. That's basically the best way of putting it. If I can be so bold as to say I want to put Noam Chomsky to work. But if we're paying him, I want him to be doing something that's benefiting the graduate and professional students at the university, because I think that's the important thing.
Yeah, Karthik. So if we are going to expand on Noam Chomsky, but what's the kind of expenses are we going to what's it like we can spend on?
So it sounds like salary to me, but
he's just going to be here for the semester, right?
I can say what I think it will be. He and his wife, because he travels with his wife, they will need to be put up somewhere. When he was here last time, it was supposed to be in the honors college, and that didn't end up happening. They stayed at the Arizona Inn. So he's going to need to put up somewhere, and he's going to need to pay paid something if he uses a course, and other things that we would probably expect. But this is the thing, and feel free to jump in or whatever. But we don't really know what he needs money for yet. I guess is the answer.
Karthik, do you have anything else? Sorry, did I Karthik? Okay, exactly.
So I think we can be clear, like, here's money for 3 speeches, here's money for this, here's money for that. And then tell the SBS people, you figure out the rest. Especially when it comes to Arizona Inn or flights or all that kind of extra stuff. We should be very specific. Because when someone goes up on the stage and introduces Noam Chomsky, hopefully they're also saying sponsored by GPSC.
I don't have any problem with, did you tell me else on something? Okay, I don't have any problem with like saying, hey, we expect these things from this money, but I want to caution us from saying this money is for this exact thing because we don't want to trap them into, Noam Chomsky leaves a week before the thing is supposed to happen.
Sure.
That's just all I would say, having done one of these. And, is there anything else? So, are there any proposals to go with this? Or do we want to table it until 2 weeks and see? I think we'll table it and we'll figure out if there's anything else that needs to be out there. Alright, in the 10 minutes remaining, any current event summaries that anyone desperately wants to get out? Katie wants to talk.
So I am from the Online and Outreach College, and I'm not sure if anyone here is aware of what's going on with the online and outreach college. So the outreach college is no more. It's gone.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So now I'm a job. So outreach college is gone. What is happening is that a lot of the students who were under the outreach college are now either being separated into what is called main campus and what is called UA online, which UA online has existed for several years but has really not been utilized by many people. Pretty much everyone going through online classes was going through the outreach college. How this affects us is huge. So I'm coming from the College of Nursing, where most of the programs are online. Most of the graduate programs are online. And what has happened to our tuition is that we went from paying what everyone else essentially is paying for tuition and fees to they are removing all in-state residency. So even if you live in state, you pay out-of-state residency tuition, and your fees and tuition are combined. So I'm now responsible for paying $973 per credit, which is painful. GAs you are no longer allowed to hold any kind of GA, TA, or RA position, and you are not eligible for any college funding, so no scholarships or anything. So this is what's going on at the College of Nursing. I have not, since I'm an online student, I don't come to campus. I don't know a lot of people on campus. And so what I am asking for GPSC is for anyone who has reps, who has students who are represented or were represented by the outreach college. And so I know FTSS had some. I know they come from all over. You just have to look on the outreach page to see where everyone is coming from. If you can, I'm happy to write down a letter kind of explaining what's going on. I don't want to start a wildfire across campus, but there is no formal way that I have been given to reach out to online students at all, and especially now that outreach is gone, I have even less of a way to reach out to these students. So if you guys are in conversations, talking to people, asking people if they are going online, my understanding is that they will be changing, all of the policies are changing with tuition for anyone who is taking all online courses. So it's going to be a big thing. The College of Nursing has been in an uproar because of it. There's been, I don't know if anybody's seen them, but there's been petitions flying around. There's been a lot of buzz on the north side of Speedway about this. And we were actually able to convince the College of Nursing how outrageous, because this was active like yesterday, even for students who already accepted in the program, and they weren't going to be graduated in. However, we did just get formal word that that has changed and that you will be able to choose whether or not you want to stay with the old tuition structure or the new tuition structure, which from my understanding is actually better for out-of-state students, but significantly worse for in-state students. So all I'm asking is that if you guys can reach out to your constituents and to your colleagues and to the students that you work with and find out if this is affecting other people. We have asked exactly how this actually came about, like how did this get past us, because I heard nothing about it. I received a letter just like everybody else did. And the only thing I've been told is that it's not a tuition increase, it's just a restructuring of the college. So it's been pretty frustrating and pretty disheartening. My understanding is that there are several students who are withdrawing their applications to UA online programs, and this is mostly affects graduate students because it largely represents graduate programs. So it's a big issue. I'm not entirely sure how to tackle it, and I'm opening this up to you guys and just bringing it to your attention, and I'm sure we'll talk more about it.
Okay. Unfortunately,
yeah.
we're not allowed to talk about it. Now, unfortunately, we're just not allowed to talk about the current event.
Yeah.
So I'd like just everyone to do exactly that thing, call everybody and see what's going on that? Because that's shocking and we need to do something.
It's a 43% increase
Okay.
in tuition and fees. So
Okay.
please email me personally or email the listener. Yeah.
Katie, if you could write all of that up and send it to everybody, and then if nothing else, we can tell all of our constituents what happened, even if none of them are adversely affected. Okay, is there anyone else who would like to speak about any other current events that are happening? Any cultural centers or advocacy groups here? I don't have any old business. I move to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we adjourn. Thanks at 8 p.m. Awesome.
Thank you to everyone who was on the live stream.